What's going on, guys? Man, I'm excited again because we have a great guest on for the podcast. One of the things I want to talk about is people's motivation. And for me, I have been asked to do a podcast by different people for probably a decade, and I just never did it. And there was a bunch of reasons why. The main reason, it wasn't my one thing to like upload audio files to an RSS server or YouTube videos or whatever. And that's why this place, Sticky Paws, where we're at right now, is so incredible because it's like, you know, one-stop shop for everything. Jon, who was my guest, convinced me to explore this idea. And I'll tell you, Jon, real quick before I introduce you, it was the Joe Rogan podcast with Sir Roger Penrose. Have you heard this one?
No.
Okay. Roger Penrose is a mathematical physicist and cosmologist, and Joe Rogan had no fucking idea what he was talking about. And it was great because Joe Rogan kept asking him questions, and Roger Penrose, Nobel Prize winner, and I have a background in physics and quantum mechanics, and so I don't have a degree in it. It's just something that I've been very interested in for the last 2 decades. And when I listened to Roger Penrose, I understood everything he was talking about, and Joe Rogan clearly did not. And this guy hunts elk, and I'm listening to him, and it's so clear that through his intellectual curiosity, he's able to make this podcast work. And I was like, that's what I want.
For 3 hours.
For 3 hours. When I saw that, I was like, that's what I want. That's what I want to be. Yeah. So my guest today is Jon. Jon, you're here for Sticky Paws Studios. Can you describe what it is that you guys do here?
Man, we record, obviously we record podcasts, but we're kind of like you said, a one-stop shop, not just limited to podcasts. If you needed to shoot a commercial for your business, if you needed to we're talking about doing some short films and feature films and just everything, anything that involves a camera, whether that's video or still pics, we're your people.
Your license plate on your car is what?
Podcaster.
That's why I love that. Again, my favorite book, one of my 3 favorite books all time, is called The One Thing by Gary Keller from Keller Williams Realty. He leaves Keller Williams. He writes this book, and basically he talks about multitasking as a myth. The whole thing is like you want to become world class or elite or at one or two things. It was very clear to me this is what you wanted to do. When I came in here, I was like, I'm not really sure. Because remember, the first time we did Action Junkeez, we're sitting at a bar.
That was Vegas Junkies.
Vegas Junkies. Yeah. I'm sitting there. I'm setting up my own audio, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure if I want to do this. And then it got some traction, but not enough. But then when I realized, I think one of the things that is missing, and we talked about, Scott Baio was on here yesterday, and we had Brian Howie, is long form content. We went so far in the other direction to where our news, we're getting it over Snapchat in 10-second clips. And photos. Too many people I know are getting their information from Facebook. I don't mind you getting your information from Facebook. Get it somewhere else also, like a second source. And then you here, and you're facilitating these long form podcasts. I have learned more about the nightlife industry from the Well Connected podcast in the last 2 months than I learned from living here for 10 years.
Isn't that interesting?
It is.
And our lives are short form. It's become short form too, right? Like text messages. Like, when's the last time you just talked to one of your friends on the phone for an hour?
There's a couple of them. It's usually I have some friends that are over the age of 35, but sure.
Right.
Rarely.
Everything is short form. And I think we're missing out on so much.
Well, we weren't evolved to communicate like this, right? We were evolved to be in front of each other. A big problem, and I talked about this in the last podcast, is living in Las Vegas, we're in high school. Basically, the nightlife here, we're in high school. I have been friends, or I thought I was friends with people 5-6 years, and I find out 5-6 years later that they believed something about me that was complete bullshit. And I was like, what happened? It's like, some girl told me something 5 years ago. I was like, motherfucker, why didn't you come talk to me about it? Like, just ask a question. And I was talking with Lieutenant Butel, who was here for the last podcast. I was talking to him, like, that's the thing I miss most about the military is that we had an issue, we could discuss it. I knew immediately when I met you, you were not one of those people. You were somebody we could discuss things with. And then you creating this sort of long form podcast, the details kind of get lost in the wash. And I feel like you doing 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, we get the full understanding. I think you can get a master's degree from the right podcasts.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
That level of information.
I've learned so much. You brought up Joe Rogan, like just from Joe Rogan, like, you're one of those people that you could talk about intelligently. You can talk about so many things. You're well read, and I don't read any books, and I don't do any of that shit.
Audiobooks, man.
Yeah, you read how many books a year?
So the least I've done in the last 10 years was 45 books in a year.
Okay, I don't know if I've read 45 books in my life.
Really?
I don't think so.
I'm pushing 350 somewhere around there that I've read.
Really?
The thing that slowed it down for me though was podcasting. Podcasting has slowed down the the books for me, where the most I ever did was 65. And I think that was a year I was deployed most of the time in the Middle East. I did 65 books that year. But the thing is, the way that, you remember YouTube in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
06, 09.
Yeah.
It's just guys doing backflips and knocking themselves out. And it was
terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Now I go on YouTube and I can get free, what Ken Burns does, the Vietnam in color or stuff like that. Incredible information.
Yeah.
In 60 frames per second, 4K, 32 megabytes per second, high definition. I'm watching TV shows for free.
It's crazy.
I'm watching on YouTube. Literally, the gratitude I feel every day for the fact that we have that level of information that we can have. I'm listening to Yuval Noah Harari talk to Zuckerberg right now. I'm in the middle of that. Joe Rogan talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dave Chappelle, who are the other two? Steven Pinker. Steven Pinker, one of my favorite people, and Gad Saad. I'm listening to those, and I'm listening to the one with Bill Burr, and I'm like, I just start thinking about 1985. I was 8, 9 years old. And I was like, man, I want to go watch this movie, Top Gun, or I want to go watch Back to the Future, and like just hoping I can get into the theater to watch it one time. There's no rewind.
Yeah.
And now I can watch I have access to all this information, these songs that I loved when I was a little kid. And the fact that we take this for granted every time is crazy.
I almost wonder, do we still need school? Or do they need to rethink how school happens?
This is a very interesting theory. There's a great book about this called The One World Schoolhouse by the guy who runs the Khan Academy, Salman Khan. He used to be a hedge fund manager, and he created an educational system on YouTube. 10-minute blocks, incredible stuff. In fact, professionally, I'm an option seller. I work for a small financial firm, and I learned my first option lessons came from the Khan Academy. And I will tell you the greatest thing that the greatest idea I've ever heard. So we use what's called a Prussian model of education in this country, where the system of education was led to where you become 18 and then you go out into the workforce into a manufacturing job, which is what the Prussians needed in 1850, 1860, whatever. And we maintain that first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade. And then we learn these different things. You don't become proficient in half of them. You go to the next grade level. You just skip it. You are what you are. Some of you go to university. A lot of you don't. That's the way it was done. So we were manufacturing workers for a manufacturing society. Well, we're not in a manufacturing society. No, we're in an intellectual property society, the intelligence age. And you're right. One of the things the Khan Academy talked about is, like, let's just say you have a child and your child is already to trigonometry when he's in 6th grade. Your kid is already into differential calculus, but he's not good at English. What do? We hold them back. We say, oh, well, you're just going to do 6th grade everything. Listen, no. This kid is already getting to differential calculus. This kid is already proving theorems, and he's 12 years old, but he's not really good with Shakespeare. Let's not hold him back.
Right.
You can go. The way the Khan Academy set it up is you can go at any pace you want in any one of these different levels.
You can pick a lane.
And why is that you and I had to go to community college and get taught by, no disrespect, because those professors work really hard, but why can't we all have Roger Penrose as our instructor? Why can't we all have Robert Schiller? Why can't we all have Nobel Prize winners? Why can't we all have Kip Thorne as our physics professor? We can. This is what video is for. Right. So why not have the classroom be the video at home, and then when you go to class, let that be the group assignment?
Exactly.
That's what the Khan Academy, with the Sal Khan, one of the best books I've ever read. I feel like it would solve everything. But you're right. We do need to rethink education. Way cheaper to do that way also.
Right. Yeah, I feel bad for people that, like, I've been telling people for I don't even know how long, like, don't go to college. I mean, I was saying this even before social media existed. Unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, brain surgeon, whatever, you don't need to go to college.
Yeah.
You're gonna spend all that money, you're gonna go into debt, and then you're gonna start at the bottom with a broom in your hand, fetching coffee.
Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy.
Do you remember?
Says the college dropout.
Okay, so let me ask you. So you are one of my idols because you're still out here in these streets and you're 50, right?
Thank you.
You're out here in these streets just like me, and you're 50. I'm 43. You know Brian Pfeiffer, right?
Yeah.
Brian Pfeiffer's 48. You're 50. And I'm like, I think Brian Pfeiffer, no offense, I think Brian Pfeiffer like drinks the blood of the 22-year-olds that he dates. That dude looks so good for being 48. So you guys are older than me, but you're still out here. You go into clubs. I see you out. You're playing poker. You have a gorgeous girlfriend. All these kind of things.
Dating way over my head, for sure.
But I want to be doing that when I'm 50. Do you know Barry Nadell?
I don't.
Barry Nadell is 70-something years old, lives up at near Spawn Ranch up in Chatsworth, and this guy is surrounded by beautiful women all the time. Dude is awesome. He's super generous. When I'm 70, I want to be Barry Nadell. When I'm 50, I want to be you.
I like it.
So So the situation you watch people do. What were we talking about before? I lost my train of thought.
I'm 50. I can't remember anything. What do you want from me?
But like the things, the intellectual curiosity, the fact that we can do this long form content, the fact that we can learn from each other, and I think what's happened is things are going in the opposite direction. Another great book. I really do think, at least Brian should definitely read this. You should probably too. It's called The Coddling of the American Mind by Jonathan Haidt. He also wrote another book called The Happiness Hypothesis, which is one of my 10 favorite books ever. And in this book, he talks about how what happened was around when you take the generation that, so you think when you were most impressionable, it's usually people say from 15 to 25. That's the area where your favorite music, right? I still listen to the Ghetto Boys, 3 6 Mafia. I still listen to 8Ball and MJG because when I was 15 to 25, those were UGK. I listened to those groups because that was big when I was in that age group. And you'll probably go back. You're a little bit, older than me. You can probably name your favorite groups. That's when you were listening to them, right? That's when the growth.
Beastie Boys.
Exactly. There you go. I could have said it myself. That was the thing that was important for you. What they're talking about is around the time of when we were in middle school, when we were most impressionable. You and I did not have cell phones. I did not have a cell phone until I was 22 years old. It would have been 1999 in Austin, Texas.
I got one 1999.
There you go. First cell phone that we got. Imagine you and me getting cell phones and having Facebook. When we're 13, 14 years old.
I can't even imagine.
We're going through 7th and 8th grade. In Texas, that was middle school. I don't know where it was, where you grew up. But in Texas, that's what we call middle school. Some people call it junior high or whatever.
Junior high for us in LA. Yeah.
So now in those points where we're most impressionable, we're going through puberty.
Yep.
We give a fuck about what people think about us probably at more than any point in our entire life. Probably more sensitive to our peer group than any point in our entire life. And now what is thrust upon us is the ability to communicate with infinite people and have everyone in our peer group judge every single thing that we do, right?
And say whatever they want.
On
a public forum that everyone can see, where it didn't used to be like that, right? If you wanted to tell 20 people something bad about you, you had to call 20 people.
Yes.
Back in the day. Now you just one little post.
Yes.
So it goes out.
So let's go back. The first year Facebook is big is 05.
Yep.
Right around there. So now we are 15 years old in 05. And then we go, or actually, no, that's what he said. I'm trying to remember how this worked out. Yeah. So let's say 07, somewhere around there. I'm sorry. That's what it was. 07 is the first iPhone. It's the first time we get an iPhone. And then the iPhone has the Facebook app on it. So now in 07, let's say we're 15. By the time we're 18, it's now 2010, somewhere around that area. Yep. Now we're going to college in 2010, 2011. So from 2010 to 2014, this is the first group of college kids that have had themselves talked shit about on social media. They become very sensitive. They don't get into schoolyard fights. They talk about each other on Twitter, burner accounts, all this kind of stuff. And then what happened from that standpoint, if you look, that is the point at which we stopped letting people come on campuses and speak that had a different opinion than the students did. Mm-hmm. We used to use college campuses to encourage Socratic debate, and we stopped doing that when that 07 junior high generation got into college. Then they started threatening these people's lives and all this kind of stuff. I love listening to people who say things I don't agree with. Very enjoyable watching flat Earth documentaries. Love them. Love them. No problem with it whatsoever. I am not, and I feel you probably feel the same way. I am not so weak-minded in my opinions that I feel like someone could sway them because they have a lot of followers, they're very attractive, or have a silver tongue. I believe in the laws of physics, and I believe what finance has shown us. I can read world history. I understand what a sociopath is. I understand how money works and greed and stuff like that, and I can use that to make decisions rather than be tricked by someone else. And I think when that started happening, now we get to what you were talking about before. Now we go for the thing that gets the dopamine hit. I wrote an article, and this article speaks to the conservative beliefs that I have. I wrote this article. This article speaks to the liberal beliefs that I have, and now I'm on your side or I fucking hate you. Yeah. That's it. And that's what the news has become. Yeah. You think so?
Yeah, for sure. It's just divide, right? It's so crazy how I was telling Vanessa this a couple months, during the election, right around the election time. Do you remember when September 11th happened back in 01?
Absolutely.
This country came together.
Yes.
Right? Everyone had flags on their car and honking at the other guy with the flag and thumbs up and pointing, right? And we really became America for maybe, I don't know, anywhere from a week to a month or however long that where we were united, right?
Yeah.
I saw a guy the week before the election in Henderson in a big pickup truck kind of thing, and he had an American flag. And first thing I thought was, wow, everyone that looks at that guy right now goes, fuck him, he's a Trump supporter.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Yeah. No. Okay. Now I see what you're saying. Yes. That because we appreciated it before and then they've changed it.
And now it became the American flag now has become you're pro-Trump.
I'm worried about the 4th of July becoming that. I talked to a buddy of mine recently, and I'm not a Biden or Trump supporter. I feel like one of the biggest failures of American politics was that those were the two guys we were left with. I think there's 330 million people.
It's crazy, right? Those are the choices.
I want someone with at least 2 PhDs who has run a business and at some point had been in the military. I want that person to be my president, and I don't care what a kind of a speaker they are. But we didn't get that. We got 2 guys who, both have made racist comments and been both, accused of sexual assault, and both of them are in their 70s. And and we're supposed to. That's the variety we got. I didn't feel like that at all. So, but just going back to what you're saying, I'm afraid that what's going to happen as a former U.S. military member is that I joined the military. That is now a political statement. Celebrating the 4th of July is not a political statement. Having the American flag has already become a political statement.
Yeah.
Supporting the American flag has become a political statement. And by the way, if somebody wants to kneel during the national anthem, I don't have a problem with it. Personally, I don't. And I was a U.S. military member. I don't have a problem with it because the oath says I am there to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So the First Amendment gives them the right to kneel during the national anthem. There's no law. There's no federal law that says they have to stand during the national anthem. But I choose to stand during the national anthem, so I don't have a problem with that. So it is very interesting that going back to what you said, for us to divide. I don't think the division is an accident. I think the division is on purpose. I think the division sells things. Yeah. I feel like if I could,
sure.
And I feel like it's some of the same corporations are dividing us and taking us in both directions at the same time. So I think that if I give you neutral news and you have a neutral feeling towards it, or if I give you Rachel Maddow saying horrible things about Trump, or if I get you, what's the new network, The Wire? What's the new conservative
The Daily
network?
Wire?
Daily Wire.
Yep.
Ben
Shapiro?
Ben Shapiro. Right? If I give you Ben Shapiro saying something horrible about Biden, not only are you more likely to have a neurochemical hit from watching it, now you're actually more likely to buy the thing that I was advertising to you. And I'm Facebook, and I'm selling stuff off Rachel Maddow, and I'm selling stuff off Ben Shapiro. I'm making money off both sides, and we're being sold to.
Agreed.
And I think that's the part that's very scary.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's crazy to me that it just goes back to the news, right? It's like they will sensationalize anything and everything just for the ratings, just for the viewers, just for the sponsors. It's crazy what we make a big deal of now. Someone said something this one way, or Trump said this, and I'm not defending Trump, but it's just like either one of them. It's like, okay, great, Biden's got dementia or whatever. Okay, it is what it is. Like, get over it. Like we're going to complain about it, or half of us are going to complain about it for the next 4 years. Why? What does it do?
Yeah. Well, how does it affect you when you have a mayor? You probably don't even know their name. How much does it affect you? Yeah, no, it's absolutely, like, it's such a huge thing when you consider all the different ways that people used to be educated, and now they're choosing the short form content. And you're right, before, it's almost like one of this, like, I have a buddy of mine, he's very, very wealthy, and everyone, who he is, but I'm not gonna say his name. Okay. Super wealthy. Women fight for this dude all the time, to be around him, to hang out with him. They want to get on his social media so that they can get popular like him. And I used to always say, man, I was like, dude, it must be hard for you to meet a girl who really likes you, because every girl is trying to have sex with you for your social media. And he's like, yeah, it's very difficult. If I met the girl of my dreams, 16 other super thoughty girls would come here and push them out of the way, right? Like, I'd be sitting there, like, I used to talk to him about it, and he'd be like, you just meet this incredible girl. She's from Louisiana. She really likes you as a person. You guys connect on like a spiritual level. And then she stands up and goes to the bathroom, and then like big titty strippers come in and just like literally physically push her out of the way. Right. You don't even notice. He's like, that's exactly what it's like for me. I don't know. This is what it's like for the news. You have this, you have this evenly weighted news article, and then Ben Shapiro and his big titty strippers come in, and then Rachel Maddow and her big titty strippers come in, and then they push that out of the way for the thing that is more sensationalized.
Yeah. Nothing can be in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing can be neutral. Like you said, it's either you have to hate to love it or love to hate it. So it's one of those two.
So let me ask you, do you think Joe Rogan's in the middle?
That's interesting. I go back and forth with him. I'm not sure because sometimes he seems, like he's more conservative, and then sometimes he seems more liberal.
I completely agree.
Yeah,
and I think that's great.
Yeah,
and somehow he's figured out how to get hated and loved by both sides.
Right.
So you had Scott Baio in here yesterday with Brian Howie.
Yeah.
You do know that because of those comments,
you're in for it.
Yeah, I'm in for it.
You're doomed.
Brian Howie is in for it.
Yeah.
Brian Howie is now going to get labeled an uber conservative.
Yeah.
Sticky Paws is going to be Sticky Paws is now going to be a conservative think tank,
right,
for neoconservative beliefs,
right.
And then I'm going to do this, right? So gun control. Let's talk about gun control. I love guns. Love guns, right?
Yeah.
I do not think there should be an individual mandate for firearms, handguns to be illegal in certain cities and not certain cities. I think that violates the First Amendment. And also every time they try that, crime goes up. So I don't think that's a good idea.
Right.
I do think that 60-round clips and bump stock should be against the law.
Really?
Having fully automatic 60-round clips? I don't see the purpose of a 60-round clip. Granted certain opportunities. If we go to the range 702, and they want to use 60-round clips there because they have a specific license for it. But I can also fire an MP5. You and I cannot own an MP5. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we can fire a machine pistol that shoots, M9 or shoots 9mm bullets at a certain range. I just don't see the civilian necessity for 60-round clips and bump stocks. I don't see the necessity for me having a fully automatic MP5 or a fully automatic M14. I have AR-15. I have a problem with that. So I'm for
but doesn't it at least need to be
control.
on the table as an option for people just to make sure the playing field is always level?
What do you mean?
Well, the whole purpose of the amendment was so that a government can't just completely take over, right? So this way the people can
saying
defend themselves.
The bump stocks are on the table so that we can defend ourselves.
I'm saying
that's an interesting. I did not think of it that way.
Obviously, I could never see it ever coming to that. But I also never saw the world ending and you need to wear masks everywhere and the government tells you that you can or cannot operate your business. So I never would have thought that was possible.
Now
here.
You are bringing up a very interesting. I did not think of it in those terms. From my standpoint, like for instance, I do think there should be a registry for guns, for certain guns, and we should be because we do it for everything else. You have a driver's license when you go drive a car, but I am also very much against, in general, like if you want to own 15 guns, no one should be able to stop you. I'm for and against gun control at the same time. And in doing so, I have made two groups of people hate me, and it doesn't make any sense. Like for instance, if I'm a gun manufacturer and I post up on the wall, I can't remember. I think it's at Colt. They have the Second Amendment just written up there, or the NRA. When you go walk in the NRA office, they've got the Second Amendment written up on the wall. And when I see that, and like you ask them to move 1 inch on one single thing, they don't want to do anything. It's like completely off the table, and I think that's also dangerous. But we can be in the middle. We can be reasonable and rational, I think, about both things. That's why I brought up Joe Rogan, is because I have absolutely heard Joe Rogan say some of the most progressive liberal things I've ever heard in my life. And then Joe Rogan say some super conservative things. Yeah. I don't think he is completely conforming to the idea of gender politics. I think that's some place where he's pretty politically conservative. Yep. And then also when you listen to him talk about some fiscal policy, I think he's pretty progressive and liberal.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe the only way we can express that is this 1 hour, 90-minute podcast, 1 hour podcast, 3 hour podcast. I think that's the only way where we can get the nuance and hopefully not hate each other. The other thing is, I would love, this is my dream, Travis, I want a flat earther on here. At some point, we've got to get a flat earther in here. I want a flat earther, and across from the flat earther, I want to go get a physicist from UNLV.
Good luck. I can get you the flat earther.
Really?
He's here in town, yeah. I don't know if he'll come on. Let me see.
No, I know some flat earthers, but they won't come on.
They won't come on, right?
Now, there is something interesting you told me. You mentioned before you had a lot of politically conservative people come on, but sometimes you have trouble getting politically progressive people to come on.
Yeah, so I host Action Junkeez.
Yes.
And then the goal for me is to build out the Junkies brand here at Sticky Paws, right? So we've got Vegas Junkies, which you were on, which was at the bar at the Trop in Tropicana. We've got Fitness Junkies, and then eventually there'll be Golf Junkies, Sports Junkies, Everything Junkies. So we've got Political Junkies, which you now have joined the team on Political Junkies, which is phenomenal with Brian Howie. And when we started that show, I thought, oh my God, this show's going to break out and be huge, because if I post a clip of Action Junkeez on my Facebook, nobody cares. If I post something that's important to me, or here I am at Dodger Stadium, whatever, nobody cares. If I post something about my dad, blows up on Facebook. But if I post, I never picked a side because I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. And I really don't care. I actually hate politics. I've never voted, never registered, don't care. I watched more Fox News and CNN last year than I did in my entire lifetime, only because of the masks.
Yes.
Because I was furious over the masks, right? But if I would post, but sometimes just to test, like, what do people want? And I would put, like when Kaepernick was kneeling, you brought up the kneeling, should they kneel or should they stand? My Facebook blows up within seconds, like 400 comments, all these likes,
let me just reiterate. I think they should stand.
Yeah.
I don't have it, but if they're going to kneel,
but it's their right.
Support their right to kneel.
Yeah. And I agree with you on that. I just don't understand his choice, but that's a separate conversation. We can get into that later, whatever. So I thought, wow, Political Junkies, when we launch this, it's going to be for gangbusters, right? We're going to go through the roof. And I thought the problem's going to be getting the silent majority, quote unquote, right? That I thought, the people from the right, I'll never get them because they don't want to be bullied and subjected to the hate for coming on the show. But liberals all day long are going to come on because they don't think twice about posting, anti-Trump, whatever. It was actually the complete opposite. I can't find every week. I'm like, I'm begging people. Do you know anyone that is, for Biden or hates Trump, whatever? Who do you have that come on?
If you are a politically progressive individual, you need to come on Political Junkies.
Please.
We want you on Political Junkies. If you believe that the earth is flat also, I'm not trying to say you guys have anything to do with each other. I'm not. But also, if you believe the earth is flat, you believe we didn't land on the moon in 1969, you believe the anti-vaxxer stuff, please. We want you on the show. We're not trying to criticize you. We would love to have you on Political Junkies so that we can have a debate and a discourse for more than 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Not just a CNN article.
Yeah. Like I tried to get a couple different people that are on the left to come on via Zoom also with Scott and you guys yesterday. I couldn't find anyone.
That's crazy, man.
Crazy, right? Because it would have been a TMZ moment for sure.
I think some of the things he said could be a TMZ moment the way it is now. Now, here's the other thing is now there's so many different forms that we can go to. Although I will say it's frightening to me the monopoly that Instagram has right now. Because even though TikTok is blowing up, using TikTok for business purposes other than advertising, I think is not very good. The DM feature on TikTok is next to useless. I don't know anyone who checks their DMs or tries to DM people. Like me trying to get people to come to a charity event.
Unless they follow you too on TikTok, right?
Me trying to get people to come to a charity event off my TikTok is useless. Facebook, somewhat useful, maybe 10%. 90% of it is Instagram.
Great. Yeah.
TikTok, again, Twitter. I can see I'm being disseminated. Twitter is like the wire. Like it's the information from the top is being disseminated down to me through Twitter. So I get that. Twitter's and also some funny stuff on there.
Yep.
Snapchat again it's just because I love the filters on there or the lenses, but Instagram just kind of stole their thunder.
Yeah.
And then I watch Instagram and I just keep thinking, when is this not going to be popular anymore? And I can't see it.
Me neither.
And there's another thing that's kind of scary about Instagram is that the growth curve is over, right? You're never going to see another Bulgarian on there. You're never going to see another person who comes up and grows organically to 23, 30 million followers.
I can't even crack 4,000.
So that's my point. This is really weird because, I work in a modeling industry. I set up photo shoots and I host some beauty pageants, stuff like that. And the girls who are the prettiest women I know have 4,000 followers, 3,000 followers. And the girls that I know with 2-3 million followers, a lot of them are in their mid-30s. They're still very, very pretty, but they're mid-30s. One of the prettiest girls I know, she's 36. She has 2 million followers and a blue check mark. And then you realize that the girls that are just as pretty as her, they're never going to be able to grow because IG has stopped the growth curve.
Right.
And so it becomes problematic because they're the only the only game in town. And so you don't really know what to do as far as that's concerned. I see things kind of moving over back to Facebook a little bit. I think Facebook is going to roll itself into Instagram at some point. I think that's the next.
Just make it one.
Yeah, I think they've
makes sense. I mean, they own it.
They've already talked about doing that with Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and IG Messenger, IG DM. They're talking about putting those three things together already. I'm already getting messages on my Facebook when people message me on Instagram.
Right, you can opt in. You just recently you could opt in for that, right?
Yeah. So that part is scary to me. that
Yeah.
Instagram is doing that. And I'll tell you something else. So your girlfriend is a model.
Yep.
She's a big model. She's probably experienced this also, the growth curve, like slowing down.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, she almost, I mean, they use that term shadow banned,
Yes.
you know, and I didn't believe it at first. You know, she was saying, I was like, you know, you just need to post more or whatever. 100%.
definitely shadow
100%. I mean, she was stuck on, I remember like 65,000 followers for like 8 months and then blew up. And then now she's been like stuck. She's, I think, around 270 or something, but like she's been stuck there for a while.
If you want to know if you're shadow banned, it is a real thing. The way it'll work is, like, for instance, I have 2 IGs. One is Michael Sartain, one is Michael J. Sartain. If you type in Michael Sartain all the way up into the very last letter, the end, it's going to show you Michael J. Sartain. It will not show you my main account until you fill out the entire thing. Then it shows you my main account once you type out the full name, because I was shadow banned. And mine stopped also because I post so many horrible memes and pictures of pretty
Your
girls.
memes are incredible.
Yes. But because I do that, that's why I was shadow banned. Recently, I found out that I wasn't, just like in the last couple days or whatever, and I got a bunch of new followers. But that is a real thing. So now, a good friend of mine, Lindsay Payless, you know who she is? So she has she has a podcast called Eyes Up Here Podcast. And she said something that I love.
She did a Carl's Jr. commercial, right?
That was Emily Sears. Who did
Sorry.
it. Yeah.
No, it wasn't Lindsay too? No?
Maybe Lindsay
All right,
did.
doesn't matter. I do know what you're talking about.
I know Emily did.
Yeah.
So Lindsay, she made this really great point that I loved. And the idea was that now Instagram is telling these ladies, hey, what you're doing is sexually suggestive. And Lindsay's point was, hey, why do you get to tell me what's sexually suggestive?
Right.
Are you saying that because I'm wearing this lingerie that I need to have sex with? Right. Someone has to have sex with me now. Because I'm wearing this lingerie, there's no doubt about it. Any man who's in the room gets to have sex with me. You've decided that.
Right.
You are Instagram. You don't live with me. You don't know me.
But if it's Victoria's Secrets, it's okay.
But yes, exactly, because they're a sponsor.
Right.
But like the point is, now I'm doing something, like if a woman wants to pose implied, she could be doing this. It's a form of art. That doesn't mean she's ready for sex.
Right.
Your interpretation of that, saying it's lascivious, which that's what lascivious means, or sexually suggestive in nature, you are now taking this woman, and this is the same argument they used in this country for the last 100 years about, oh, this woman was raped. What was she wearing?
Right.
What was she wearing? Was
crazy.
she asking for it? So now you as Instagram are saying, well, oh, this is sexually suggestive.
Yeah.
Therefore, we've decided what you're doing is sexually suggestive. So now we're going to ban it. And the reality of the situation is, no, they just want to make the content safer for their new sponsors.
Right.
This is just a money play to make things safer. Did you hear OnlyFans talking about they're not going to promote porn anymore? And I'm like,
Good luck with
that, bro. Good luck with that. So that, again, because they're going public. That's the reason why they're saying this. And I don't believe it to be the case at all. I think they'd be losing massive amounts of revenue if they did that.
Oh my God.
But I mean, how crazy is that we've gotten to this situation? So you have Instagram growing themselves off the backs of young, attractive women, and then shitting on those same women, just completely
it's unbelievable,
shadow banning them.
The people that made you.
Humiliating those same women and no one's calling them out for this. I honestly, I don't think anyone hates women more than Instagram. The stuff that they do to women for nothing.
TikTok hates them more.
TikTok, yes, that's a good point. We could talk about the hypocrisy there, where if you are 14 years old and you're shaking your butt, they seem to have no problem with that.
No problem.
But if you are a woman with curves, this is another thing I find to be problematic is it is the curves that are offensive. It is the woman having a feminine shaped body in and of itself is offensive. And the other thing, John, that I found offensive, the woman being exceptionally attractive is also the attractiveness in and of itself is offensive.
Right.
It gets too much, because from Instagram's standpoint, it's like you are taking too many eyeballs from our sponsors and taking those eyeballs to yourself because you're attractive and you didn't pay us any money.
Right.
You know who PewDiePie is on YouTube?
No.
He's one of the biggest YouTubers in the world.
Okay.
Billions of subscribers.
What's his name?
PewDiePie.
PewDiePie.
PewDiePie. There'll never be another PewDiePie, because PewDiePie got there organically when there was a growth curve on YouTube. YouTube ended their growth curve before Instagram did. There will never be another Dan Bilzerian, because there will never be another organic male influencer who posts pictures of him with nude girls with guns over their nipples. That'll never happen again. And so what's happened is, you saw PewDiePie he's hundreds of millions of dollars now because of the organic growth. And you saw Dan Bilzerian, he's got all these impressions because of organic growth. And Instagram and YouTube said, no, we're going to sell that. We're going to sell that. An example, this is kind of a weird analogy. Do you know what a girl guy is at a nightclub?
One that just recruits girls, atmosphere models, whatever, that kind of thing.
You and me, when we're in the 80s, 90s, we'd go to a nightclub. We'd go meet a pretty girl at the bar.
Right.
You remember that? Or meet a pretty girl on the dance floor. No, let's just give that experience to the bottle buyers. Let's take that experience away from the guy walking up to the bar or the guy on the dance floor. Let's commoditize that. So let's take the pretty girls. We're going to take them to the table.
Hey, you want to sit down over here? Hey,
that free experience that you and I had going to the bar to shoot our shot. Let's take that away from you. Same thing on Instagram. Same thing with YouTube. That free. I'm posting incredible content. Let me see if I can grow organically. You can grow organically as long as you pay us. As long as you pay us, now you can grow.
To see your own, for us to give your content to the people that opted in following you.
Yes, correct. That's the other thing that I find problematic.
It's crazy.
If I go on Facebook Ad Manager and I were to promote a post, it would promote a post to my own followers.
Right.
Huh? Yeah. Wait, what? Yeah. So none of it, that whole thing is not organic. And so that also makes it scary, which again, let's go back to my original point. Podcasting is so important.
Yeah, it is.
I think this is so important.
Yeah.
I have never heard. Do you know of an Apple podcast that's been taken down?
No.
I can't think of one.
And Apple's strict.
Yes. I can't think of one. People say crazy stuff on podcasts, and I can't think of one.
Yeah.
Horrible profanity, expressing all kinds of crazy opinions.
Joe Rogan's guy, right? Not his guy, but
Alex?
Yeah.
Okay, so Spotify took those down.
Oh, Spotify
took those down, but I don't think Apple Podcast took those down. I could go back and check.
Yeah. It's a great format.
It is.
You know? And like you said, the long form nature of it, you can take your time. You can really get a conversation in that's just no one has anymore. No one has talks like this.
There's a nuance to the joke, but you didn't get the nuance to the joke because you send it on text message with a fucking tongue out emoji.
Yeah, and the text started a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
The joke started a fight.
Now you're 50, I'm 43.
Yeah,
we've had to speak both languages.
Yeah, you've
had to learn the text language, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then you also can talk to somebody who's a little bit older and have, a Socratic debate about something.
Yep.
One other thing that I think is lost: we can make fun of each other.
Yeah.
And I don't want to fight you after.
Right.
Have you seen that go away?
Man, I mean, you can't say anything anymore,
bruh.
It's crazy. You can't say any. I did stand up comedy. I don't know if you know this. I did comedy for 10 years.
I listen to all your podcasts.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're the one. Yeah. I can't imagine being a comedian today. It's just too risky. And I know a lot of them don't care, like the Dave Chappelle's, and there's a handful. And then that's interesting too. Like Dave Chappelle's allowed to get away with whatever, but what Louis C.K. No, not so much. Well, he picked up, but he's a bad example. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's comedians that are still like, oh, okay, it's okay. He says that. Kevin Hart had to apologize from something from 7 years ago if he wanted to host the Oscars.
He was mad because he had already apologized for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, it's a joke. Like that has to be the rule, that everything is fair game in comedy. That's always been the rule. It has to be the rule.
It's interesting. I changed my name on my bio on my Instagram to comedian.
Really?
To protect myself.
To protect yourself.
Yes.
Interesting.
And I post enough memes where I can kind of get away with it. And I do enough funny stuff where I can get away with it. But
yeah.
I did that to protect myself because I saw the things that like Daniel Tosh can get away with.
Right.
That
Great example.
Other people can't get away with. Dude, one time my buddy took me to Daniel Tosh, had front row seats, and I had a bet with him how many dead baby jokes that would be in the first 30 minutes. We got to 12 dead baby jokes in the first 30 minutes. I said there would be 9. I lost the bet. 12.
Oh my God.
12 dead baby jokes in the first.
Wow.
Incredible. Of course, the king is Anthony Jeselnik. He's the king of the dead baby jokes. But again, having those conversations, we can't do that anymore. Did you go see Chappelle when he was here?
Yeah. Did you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you see Donnell Rawlings when he came out there? He came out there before. I'm rich, bitch. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember,
sure.
You remember what he would say? Maybe your experience was different from mine, but he kept saying, "Y'all got your phones locked up," and he started saying,
Yeah. And he went off
horrible racial slurs to people.
He went off.
He goes, you ain't got your fucking phones. You can't record me. And he just every gay, black, every racial slur you could think of.
And it was hilarious, and nobody died.
And we were pissing ourselves laughing. And I felt bad, and I just started thinking, like, this guy has taken the push against him, the cancel culture, and just pushed completely back.
Yeah.
And where are we? We're at MGM.
Right.
We're in the Garden Arena.
Yeah, 20,000 people, whatever, it was packed.
But MGM has accepted this also.
Right.
So now we have the endorsement, whether or not they want to admit it, the endorsement of MGM for that type of language. I'm not saying it's bad. Dave Chappelle is the greatest thing ever.
Right.
But you know, I think you push in one direction too far, and then eventually things get pushed back. I think we did let President Trump say a couple of misogynistic things and left him a little bit unchecked, and then the Me Too movement started. You didn't want the Me Too movement. I wouldn't have elected a guy who said grab him by the pussy. Then we don't have that problem, but we have it because of that happening. And so I think this is the same situation where we're going really far in one direction. A lot of the things that woke culture is in favor of, I'm very much in favor of it. The way they're prosecuting their strategy is what I sometimes have a problem with.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting the way you put that. A lot of times it's like their heart is in the right place.
Yes.
But the punishment never fits the crime. Like just the fact that you could literally get canceled is insane to me.
Yes.
And saying you're sorry, that doesn't work anymore, right?
No,
you didn't say it the right way. You didn't say it timely enough, the way you said it, or you only said it because you got caught or pressured or whatever.
Well, you lose power as the prosecutor, the plaintiff in this thing. You lose the power if you accept the apology. So you can't accept the apology. Right. The apology wasn't sincere. And so it becomes very difficult because here's the thing. When they went after Harvey Weinstein and when they went after Matt Lauer, the good thing that the Me Too movement went after, with Harvey Weinstein being like their first person they went after, Harvey Weinstein was guilty as fuck. He was so guilty. They had him, they were batting 1,000 with that one. Then when I went after Matt Lauer, again, Matt Lauer was pulling his penis out in front of his coworkers.
Right.
That dude's got to go, right? Then they went after Charlie Rose. Again, so sad, bro. Charlie Rose from North Carolina. Love Charlie Rose, man. I'm from the country. I'm listening to Charlie Rose. I'm like, man, I want to be like Charlie Rose. Then I find out Charlie Rose, old ass, is pulling his dick out in front of his employees. I'm like, how? Charlie Rose? Could you imagine the look on somebody's face? Charlie Rose just pulled his dick out in front of me. Like I would be so confused. I wouldn't even know what to say. Right? Yeah. And then we go a little bit further, and then we get to Aziz Ansari. Do you remember this?
Yeah. He went on really all he was guilty of was being a bad date.
He was a bad date. She for those of you who don't know, again, this is in the article. I'm not saying this. She gave this dude a blowjob of her own volition, and then later complained about feeling uncomfortable. Right. Now, while she has every right to feel uncomfortable, I don't know that he needs to then lose all of his work.
Agreed.
Because please have some empathy for us as a man. If you are going to do sexual acts on us and then later on, days later, tell us that you felt uncomfortable, that can be confusing. I'm not saying, I would like to think I would have handled the situation different. Right. John would have handled the situation different. I don't know that he needs to lose everything because of that. And he didn't. He didn't. He came back from that. I thought that was the point where the Me Too movement was like, hey guys, watch out. Yeah. Right? You can't. If you want to scream racial injustice, make sure it's racial injustice. That way you keep everything 100%. When you step outside the lines and you start putting the words in, do you remember the whole thing with Rush Limbaugh where there was a statement about him saying something about slavery and he never said it? Oh, I didn't even know that. He literally never made the statement. The statement was
out there. It got out there.
It was completely made up and nobody said anything. Same thing with George W. Bush. Yeah. The absent for duty, the documents that Dan Rather posted. Dan Rather gets fired from CBS because he posted documents that were fake. The whole thing never happened. And so those situations, like you are right, and then you want to be right. Correct. Like the people would say about O.J. Simpson, we think he's guilty, so now we're going to play fast and loose with the rules. Adnan Syed, you remember from the Serial podcast? Sure. The prosecutor in Baltimore, clearly this guy steps over the line. He's probably still guilty, but he steps over the line. It's like, you're right, but the problem is when you're a prosecutor or when you and I are having a Socratic debate, I need to try to be right, but I need to not want to be right. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because then I'm going to start cheating. Then we get back to Ben Shapiro. Then we get back to Rachel Maddow. Now I'm going to say whatever because it's like, it's not just that I'm right. I have to want to be right. And if somebody says something negative, that's a good point. Now I need to discredit that person also. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I talk about this with Vanessa all the time, like going back to like the dating and like Aziz, like I can't even imagine being single right now. Like, it's too scary. It is scary. Because you're in trouble for trying. You're in trouble for just shooting your shot, right? It's like if you work, in a doctor's office or wherever, any job, right? And you see the pretty girl that is working there too, and you shoot your shot, and she says no, it could easily just be a no, right? Or it gets turned into unwanted sexual advances, and that is not what it is. Right. Like saying, hey, let's grab dinner or let's grab a drink or whatever. And then even if it's a no, and then you come back around and reapproach and package it different, that's not harassment. Like
I get it. There is a point where it could become harassment, but come on, man. Like, it's not fair. You can't start nailing guys to the cross just for trying.
Okay, so now let's go all the way back
Yeah.
to the Facebook in 07.
Yeah.
Right, iPhone. Now we don't talk to each other anymore. Now those guys are shooting their shot. You and me shooting our shot is different.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you this, John. You and I have probably been in a fist fight, probably played football, tackled somebody.
Yep.
You and I have probably confronted other individuals, talked to a woman in a bar. There's these little steps that we went through growing up as men that men now are not going through, and now they're pulling their dick out in front of their employees or in front of their subordinates, right? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I think sometimes you and I miss that part too, because
Interesting.
the majority of my friends are female because I do so much stuff with modeling. I'd say 75% of my friends are female, and a good number of them are models. And when I talk to them, the horror stories that I hear from, like for instance, some of the things that photographers put them through. I'm very, very fastidious when it comes to checking photographers that come to my photo shoots, because some of them get reputations for doing things that are inappropriate. Hey, come over. I'll give you these edits if you come over to my place. Hey, take your clothes off, whatever. I have a problem with that. The thing is, I think, John, that you and I forget sometimes is that we're dealing with extremely passive-aggressive young men who don't know how to shoot their shot.
Interesting.
And it is harassment. They are doing creepy, because here's the thing, man. This is crazy. So I have so many female friends that every one of my guy friends, almost all of them, meet their girlfriends through me. And then when they break up, I'm still friends with their girlfriends, and they tell me everything. So I know a lot more about my guy friends than sometimes I want to know. Okay? Yeah. I was trying to think of the best way to say this. So I know a lot more about my guy friends than I want to know. Some of these things, I'm like, brother, I did not know you were into that. I'm totally fine with it. No judgment, pimp. But god damn, I did not know.
Oh man.
So bro, I can tell you some stories you wouldn't believe. But anyway, here's the thing.
Right now, I'm taking a mental inventory of your guy friends.
Yeah. So here's the thing that happens though. A lot of times those guys in a passive aggressive manner, because I'm with so many girls, will talk shit about me behind my back, and I hear every word, to the point now where I don't even care anymore. I'm still friends with some of these guys. Maybe that's my fault, but I like every single word they say to these girls. All of it comes back to me because these girls are my friends, and then I come to the realization this is how they were taught to communicate. Yeah. Because of social media. This is how they were taught to communicate, is by like just talking shit about people behind their back. And I have a program called the Men of Action program. It's a master program that I teach. We have 6 rules in the program. Rule number 5 is we don't talk shit about people behind their back. We don't. Rule number 5 is we don't worry about other people's money. We don't worry about other people's girl. We don't FOMO. We're social media producers, not social media consumers. And we don't talk shit about people behind their back. I know that's a long rule, but that's rule number 5, right? Rule number 6 is nobody needs to know who you're fucking. That's rule number 6. Okay. So in doing that, I noticed when you and I say this, we're a little bit more calibrated. Here's the other thing. I've always said this. I do a Monday show, and there's a bunch of females on there. I usually have like 7 girls in there. And I've said this, and all of them agree with me. The best thing for men and women is for men to not be creepy. Yeah. The best thing for men and women is for men to be their most attractive selves. Mm-hmm. The best thing for men and women is for men to not be creepy.
But who's a big male sex symbol now? So I'll try to keep it real. I was going to use Brad Pitt, but the youngsters don't really know Brad Pitt. Let's just use Brad Pitt, right? What Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp does is mysterious and dark. What Weinstein does
is creepy as a motherfucker.
Right?
Yes.
Then there's that.
It is weird, man.
If you look like a male model, you're just a bad boy. He's so bad. You're a bad boy. But if you're Harvey Weinstein, you're fucking fat prick.
Yeah. I mean, he did some mess
for sure. Yeah, I'm not defending him, by the way. Yeah, for sure. But you know what I mean? It's interesting how, like, if it's a really attractive guy,
they get away with a lot more.
Your line is different. Not that you do creepy things, but your line is different than a guy that's 200 pounds overweight.
For sure, man. And it's and by the way,
is that fair?
But also we talked about before about Vanessa worked at Wet Republic at one point, right? Mm-hmm. So she went through the whole 7,000 girls you have to sit behind or whatever. Crazy. Vanessa's not 200 pounds overweight.
Right.
She's in great shape. So she couldn't work at Wet Republic.
Right.
So it kind of works both ways. Like I can't play. I used to say this before. I can't play small forward for the Lakers because I'm not 6'8" and I don't have a 42-inch vertical.
Right.
If I did, maybe I could do that. But because I can't then sue the NBA for discrimination because I can't do it. Right. The same thing with models, and it's the same thing with this situation where. I'm trying to think how we can say this without being, because we're in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
You have female friends, I'm sure, that are attracted to different things, and it's surprising sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Some girl is only attracted to the money. This is something that I learned.
Yeah. Which I think is okay, by the way.
Yes. But this is something I didn't know, John, before I moved here.
Yeah.
A woman being physiologically attracted to a man because he's wealthy. Mind blowing.
That was mind blowing to you?
No, what I thought, because I used to manage a strip club, was that women tolerated advances from men because they had money for the money.
Actually being attracted to him because of the money.
Physiologically stimulated, sexually stimulated by a man who has money. And here's the crazy part, John. And he doesn't even give her any of the money. The dude just has a table throwing ones in the air. And she's sexually stimulated by this guy because he has money.
Money, power.
And he's not even giving her any money. And she's that part I didn't understand. I always thought, because I worked at a strip club and the girls would come back and they'd say something to the effect of, man, I can't stand these creepy dudes touching me or whatever, but the money's right. I always found it. I have a lot of friends that work at the Rhino, and I think it's normal when they tell me they don't like working there. Right. Not that the Rhino is the best strip club in the world. Don't get it wrong, but it's hard for a long time. It messes with your psyche
for sure
to be a dancer.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a dancer, I have some friends who live in Austin or Dallas. I'm like, you should work at the Rhino.
Right.
You make
just
way more.
Every weekend.
If you're going to do this anyway, you should work at the Rhino.
Play in the big leagues.
Yeah, play in the big leagues, or work at Sapphire, or work at CH3.
Right.
Or work in Vegas.
Definitely in Vegas.
Definitely work in Vegas. But the point is, when I hear that, I'm like, that sounds normal to me. But when I hear girls, I remember this one girl told me, she was like, oh, I love getting on stage. I love performing. Later on, I figured out she's a sociopath. But it's just crazy when you hear that. It's kind of normal. But when I met a girl and she explained to me she's physiologically attracted to men because they had money, I didn't understand that was a thing. I didn't.
Yeah.
And then when you see some girls who are into men who are very intelligent and some women who keep dating male strippers who take steroids, it's very confusing. You don't understand. There's a great book about this called Why Women Have Sex by David Buss and Cindy Meston, and they go 237 reasons why women have sex, which means there's infinite reasons why women have sex. But for men, it feels like the standard deviation of what we're attracted to is so much more narrow. If we're like, hey, Jessica Biel, 21-year-old Jessica Biel, who thinks she's attractive? Everybody raises. Everyone raises their hand.
Right.
Mariah Carey, first album. No one is like, she's unattractive. No one. But if you asked 100 women, would you guys sleep with Brad Pitt? A lot of them wouldn't.
Correct.
A lot of them wouldn't.
Yeah.
And so it's very different because the things that they look for are very different. And then when you live here, Matt, the things that I find women are attracted to, do they ever shock you? Do you ever see things that are just kind of blow you away?
Nothing shocks me anymore, to be honest.
Right.
But yeah, and I know where you're headed with that. Yeah, I mean, there's some girls. What shocks me is range.
Yes.
From some girls, right? They're with a nerdy type, and then they go to tatted bad boy.
Yes.
To they're all over the map. The range is what. Not that you need to have a type, but I almost feel like you might be a little lost inside if your range is that far.
Interesting.
For a committed relationship, at least.
What I found is the bad boy, then they go to the nerd.
The bad boy, then the nerd.
Then the nerd doesn't
treats them right.
Then the nerd doesn't satisfy them. Then they go back to the bad boy.
Right.
That's what I've seen as far as the range is concerned.
Yeah.
They're so afraid of one thing that they want another thing. Right. So I've definitely seen that happen before. I've seen guys who are they were in monogamous relationships where they just felt very much trapped. So their next relationship, they'd be with someone who's bisexual or be in an open relationship. So you're trying to overcompensate for whatever it was that you were doing before.
What shocks me is the men and women that will stay in a dysfunctional, miserable fucking relationship for not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years.
Yes.
What is that?
Okay.
What? I mean, I know it's a deep dive with a lot, right? A lot of them have daddy issues. They have abandonment issues. They have all kinds of issues. And
I've got a marriage therapist. She's writing a book on narcissism.
Yep.
I'm going to have her here as a guest.
Yep.
She's also a model. Stunning.
Okay.
I'm going to have her on here. You should probably come on.
I want to come on.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
She's so attractive as a marriage therapist. She says couples will come in. The wife will say, "You're too attractive," and leave. I believe that. She's so attractive that some of the women will not.
And by the way, I have a theory on marriage therapy. I think does it ever work? Has it ever worked? Has therapy really ever worked? I know you probably don't want to. It's probably bad because she's going to see this. Then she'll be like, "Fuck Jon Orlando."
We're going to discuss this, but the problem with marriage therapy this is the problem that was described to me, and I kind of agree with.
Yeah,
is it becomes a matter of deserve instead of desire, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, Sally, so what do you want John to do? Well, I want him to take out the dishes sometimes. Okay, Sally, if John takes out the dishes, are you going to want to give him a blowjob now? And Sally's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right.
Well, I don't want to do it now. But
Right.
because the obligation is the opposite of attraction. And you have this mixture of deserve versus desire. I think that's the reason why marriage counseling has a hard time working. Marriage also, you could make an argument, has a hard time working because of that. But man,
I just feel like if you need a third party to tell you how to get along, it's time to pull the plug.
Isn't it weird? There's a lot of great books on this. The idea that Homo sapiens are not monogamous or polygamous. They are monogamous during several points of a lifetime of polygamy, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So a lifetime of polygamy, because what is it called? The reproductive career. That's the way it's in Evolution of Desire, I think. I think that's the book. The reproductive career of women is shorter than it is for men. Mm-hmm. Men can go into their 70s, sometimes definitely in their 60s. For women, it's usually women can get pregnant in their 40s. I know a lot of women will see movie stars get pregnant in their 40s and they think, I'm just going to wait till I'm 40. If you look at the statistical percentages of you getting pregnant in your 40s, it's extremely low and it's very expensive. And there's a lot of other complications.
Right.
So that's just a biological fact. That's not an issue. But because of that, now we have a mixed match, and now you have a man and a woman that get married when they're 22. Yeah. And then she gets to the point where she can't not having kids anymore. And like, we can sit there and call this dude a piece of shit. We can, but then we can also look at evolutionary psychology and be like, okay, now she can't. You'll see, it's crazy. They did this study where women would go through menopause, and then they would watch what happened with the men that they were with, and they would see the man just like biologically, physiologically change because his wife went through menopause, and then he goes off and buys the Corvette and starts dating the 25-year-old because that happens. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying it's evolutionary psychology, right? We see this happening over and over again, but the problem is how I don't understand how even today I still have to make the monogamy argument. It's bonkers to me. Monogamy is. Have you ever you've met Jay Cutler? It's a great example. We all met Jay Cutler. He lives here. Jay Cutler is in phenomenal. Think about him in prime shape, right?
Forget it.
If he doesn't work out, that goes away. That's what monogamy is. Monogamy is Jay Cutler in prime shape, lifting every day. And as long as both parties are lifting every day in order to make monogamy work, I think then it works. But it's not the natural state of Homo sapiens. You need to find two people that are willing to work at it every day, and both people have to be willing to work at it every day. Yep. But the idea is that you got from grandma and the church was that you find a soulmate, and then you guys get married and you stay together forever. And it doesn't matter if you get fat. You guys stay together forever. Right. And then social media fucked that up, because now I'm sitting at home, my wife is getting fat, or my husband he lost his job. My husband lost his job, he got fat, and then I go on social media and I'm just getting blown up by every guy I went to high school with, and all these wealthy people. Come fly to Mykonos, come to this trip, come to the, you know what I'm saying? And that's what makes the divorce rate go 53%, 50%, 7%, what makes it higher. Have you noticed the thing for me here is that I don't have to be better than other dudes. I have to be better than the Maxim party. I have to be better than the trip to Mykonos. I have to be better than the Playboy Mansion. I have to be better than the Ignite party. I have to be better than the dance floor table. I have to be better than the fucking hotel room. I feel like the more attractive the women you talk to, there's more stimulus that you have to fight against.
For sure, but I don't think that's just here. But maybe it's because I'm from LA, because that's very LA.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There's the bigger, better deal. It's tough. I owned a PR firm too for 10 years, and we worked with a lot of playmates, a lot of models. We threw parties, the Playboy Mansion, all that shit. And, they all had their different ones, had their sugar daddies, or they're just rich boyfriends or whatever. And it's like there's no turning back from that lifestyle. And you almost can't blame them. Like, it doesn't make them bad people. Like, if you get a taste of floor seats at the Lakers, private jets, and eating at Mr. Chow for a year or whatever the amount of time is, how could you date the shoe guy at Nordstrom?
That's exactly right.
And that's not it's like we've demonized that. It's interesting to me, right? It's like a girl it's weird. It's like, I like breast implants.
Yes.
Okay? I'm a pig for saying that.
Really?
To many girls.
Really?
But if a girl says, I don't want to date a short guy, it's okay.
Interesting.
Why is that?
It's a bit of a double standard.
It's bullshit.
It is a bit of a
but
double standard.
It's out there. It exists for sure, right? Or there's tons of girls that say, "Oh, I don't like dark hair guys. I don't like redheads," or whatever. All those food, like, it's okay to say that, but if you zero in like on a body part, you're an asshole. It's all the same shit.
Yes. So you're just pointing out a double standard.
Right.
Yes. And I agree. I definitely agree that there's a double standard.
But with the girls, but they get exposed to private jet life or whatever. Like, you can't blame them. Like, what? It's not a bad thing. No different than you don't want to date a girl that's 110 pounds overweight. It's not going to happen. That doesn't make you a bad person. It is what it is.
Right.
We like what we like.
We like what we want. Well, you can't change. So one of the things when we talk about the 6 rules, rule number 2 is evolutionary psychology describes all human behavior. A lot of people are like, no, that's not true because that means that there's no such thing as free will. And I was like, well, if you believe in free will, then make yourself like poop to eat. Oh, you don't like to eat poop? Wait a second, but I thought there was free will.
Right.
I'm confused. This one girl that at your work hits on you all the time, definitely not attracted to you. Make yourself attracted to her. Oh, you can't?
Right.
Oh, well, I thought there was free will. What we find is when we put what we call EEGs, when we put measuring devices on top of people's brains and we measure them, what happens is if you come up with the idea at 1 p.m. exactly, I'm going to stand up, what we find out is at 12:59, there's all of a sudden these neurochemical reactions that start. And then at 1 p.m., you're sure that you had an independent thought that you came up of your own volition that caused you to stand up. No, you didn't. It was your it was your preferences. This is a controversial part.
Yeah.
Let's just say Homo sapiens are 400,000 years old. Some people say 700,000. Some people say 300,000. Let's say Homo sapiens are 400,000 years old. We have 400,000 years of living as hunter-gatherers, and then the Sumerians invent language, and then we have the agricultural revolution. That's 11,000 years. So 400,000 years versus 11,000 years. Mm-hmm. And then we take those 11,000 years versus 10 years of Facebook, 15 years of Facebook. No, you were evolved to live in this hunter-gatherer lifestyle. That's why you keep going back to the douchebag. That's why we keep dating the girls with the breast implants, because they make girls look younger. That's the reason why we do it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, we try to change society to be something that it isn't. Instead of let's first recognize where we came from as Homo sapiens, because a lot of people don't even believe in evolution to start with. And when you come to that realization, what I have found this is me being anecdotal here, what I found is that whenever I make decisions based on ideas from evolutionary psychology, I tend to always get the right answer. Mm-hmm. When I make decisions based on zodiac signs or behavioral psychology or my own personal gut feeling, I tend to get the wrong answer, or 50-50.
Right.
Make sense?
Sure.
When I tried Aspire Band, why did somebody do that thing that they did? And I say, sexual selection, mate guarding. When I start using evolutionary psychology theory to it, okay, now it makes sense. When I try to use behavioral theory to it, it doesn't make any sense to me. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So my decision matrix now is based on statistical probability and evolutionary psychology. And I've been able to determine, okay, this is what person's primary driver emotion is. This is what they want. So many people you'll find they go to graduate school or they become an attorney and they get the good job because mommy and daddy told them, if you get the good job, then you deserve the pretty girl, right? You and me have been living in Vegas. I've been here for 10 years. How many guys like fucking living on a couch, promoter, dating a Playboy model? I see it all the time.
All the time.
Like guys that just cannot get their shit together at all, dating the hottest woman they've ever seen in their life.
All the time.
But mom, I thought it's what I deserved. You get the two graduate degrees, the law degree, you do all these things. And the problem is you were doing it for sexual selection also. The difference is me and John admitted it. We moved to Vegas. The difference is I admit it, you admit it. So we moved to Vegas and we cut out the middleman. Whereas you went and got the 2 degrees, you're $200,000 in debt. You're working at a job. You're getting fat because you can't go to the gym anymore. But you did it for the same sexual selection that I did. You just felt like things were different. And then what happens is, do you ever have friends from high school or whatever come to you and be like, man, I wish I was with you guys in Vegas, right?
Daily.
Man, I wish my friends from high school or the guys that were in my squadron, they're always like, man, I wish I never got married. Man, I wish I was without you in Vegas. And I was like, yeah, because very early on, I admitted to myself what I really wanted and didn't try to go around it and try to say something else.
Yeah. You know what's interesting is when I met, before Vanessa, I was single for forever. Like I've had, long-term relationships, but hated them.
How long? How long were you single?
When I found Vanessa, I hadn't had a girlfriend in almost 10 years.
Yeah, I was at 15 years. Yeah. For this last one, yeah.
Yeah. Just dated around, nothing serious.
Me too.
Me
too.
Didn't want to deal with the fucking drama, whatever.
No, man, I was just happy. It's
And
wins against replacement, bro. Well, it's wins against replacement. What were we doing? We're out having fun every day, and it was like replacement.
Yeah.
And then you have like, you know what else I had? I had a bunch of female friends, and they would tell me their drama. I was like, okay, let me listen to your drama, so I don't have to do this. But anyway, go on.
So I knew I was doomed in a good way when I met Vanessa, because the first question I said to myself, well, maybe not the first question, but after 20, 30 minutes of talk, I was like, if she didn't have implants, would I give a shit right now? Would I still be interested? And I was like, fuck, I would be.
Yeah.
And I knew. I was like, damn.
Wait, so you met her after she got her implants?
Oh, yeah.
So I met her before. She did she did my bikini competition in 2014. So
she worked at rehab back then.
Yeah. Well,
when you first met her.
I don't know if she worked there, but she competed in the competition. That was the first time I ever met her. And I was like, this girl's in incredible shape. I remember.
Yeah.
And then she got the surgery done, and then she got at Wet Republic, and I was like, oh, this girl's taking off. You know what I'm saying? And then I met you on stage at the Great Love Debate with Brian Howie, and then that's when she introduced me to you. Right? That was the first time I ever met you.
Yep.
And so, man,
I sort of met you. Well, I didn't meet you. You were on my Hang With app. With Tiffany Masters doing your radio show back then back in the day. That was my app, Hang With. But I guess I never met you. I knew Tiffany, but I never met you. But I watched you on the thing. Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Tiffany Masters.
Yeah.
Right? Tiffany Masters is sorry about that. Tiffany Masters is it's a great example of somebody. Her and I would have debates about this all the time, because Tiffany Masters was looking for monogamy, 100%. Was not going to accept anything else besides monogamy, and no matter what statistics I threw at her, she didn't give she didn't give 2/10 of a shit. Monogamy, fuck you, everything else monogamy. And I love that. And she found Vince, the guy she married, and she found monogamy. In my situation, it was just one of these things where it's like, we almost got to fool ourselves, right? And I'm not saying in a bad way, but it's like, we have to, no matter what else seems the case. And because I want that. I was in a relationship earlier this year. It didn't end well, but I loved being in a relationship so much that I definitely want to get into another relationship at some point. And I loved just having someone I could be there for and help them try to build their career, try to build something with them. I loved that.
Yeah.
But in order for me to do that, there's a lot of things I'm going to have to ignore. I realize that too. Or a lot of things that I want to do that I got to put aside for them. I was in a relationship. I said 15 years. There was one girl in 2015 I was dating. And I remember we were at like a party or a gathering or whatever, and I'm walking around and I'm introducing her to like girl after girl after girl, because I know all these girls. And then I turned and I was like, oh, by the way, honey, this is Crystal Hefner. And I remember afterwards thinking, what the fuck did I just do?
Right.
You know, I just introduced my normal girlfriend to Hugh Hefner's wife, who then hugged me and then told me to come to the Playboy Mansion. And I'm looking at my girlfriend and I'm like, what, man, I don't blame you for leaving me.
Right.
You should leave me.
Yeah.
This is crazy, the amount of pressure that you put somebody in. And then just like you said before, I don't want to give it up. Yeah. Like, we're just so spoiled.
I was just going
to
say to you, it's specifically hard for you, or it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Because someone has to understand your life, because you've made a good career out of, interviewing these girls on the red carpet and just doing, producing content that appeals to men 18 to 34.
Yeah.
That's your sweet spot. Yeah. I mean, from an advertising, for sponsor point of view, that's your lane.
Yeah.
And you really own that lane, and that's going to be hard for someone to deal with. There's a lot of guys that wouldn't put up with Vanessa being on OnlyFans, but it doesn't bother me.
So,
or even, never mind that, there's a lot of guys that wouldn't put up with her working at Wet Republic.
Right. Is she at Wet now?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
So agreed. And one thing that I found, and this may be controversial, is that I tend to date women who like women. That tends to, and women who like women tend to gravitate towards me because I have so many female friends, and they don't get as jealous. And that seems to be the only sweet spot for me where I can kind of make it work. Where if I go to a party and she's like, did you sleep with her? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, good job. Instead of, let's get the fuck out of here. Why did you bring me here? And so that seems to be, to me, I feel like that's the only possible solution. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Me and Jesse are just friends.
But it would be interesting if, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it would be interesting if in the beginning they are like that, but then as they love you and get in deeper with you.
That's happened too.
Does it flip where they're like, yeah, I know I was cool with that, but now I'm not.
So this is a discussion we frequently have. So Jessie Preston, who's on here, is a bisexual woman. She's been open about it. She's been in relationships with women. My ex was bisexual. She was married to a woman. In some cases like that, there's a difference between a woman who's cool with kissing a girl at a party when she's drunk and then going on a date with a woman, specifically to be in a relationship. That latter type of girl is who I'm talking about.
Yep.
They're the girls that I see. If I told them you can't see women anymore, they would break up with me. Do you understand? So it's never going to change, John. That's who I was specifically talking about, looking for. I will tell you that it's still difficult, but I don't get jealous if my girlfriend is with another girl. But as long as she understands, I don't want her to be with some other dude, then it's fine.
Yeah.
And then it wins against replacement, right?
Yeah.
The war stat from sports.
Yeah.
Is giving all this up worth
correct? Right.
The trips to Ibiza, the trip to Jamaica, the charity event in Los Angeles. Am I willing to give all that up to be in a relationship? And for me right now, the answer is no, but maybe that would change in some more cases.
It depends on who you meet, right?
It depends on who you meet. And you see the way we've discussed this, going back to the whole podcast idea, we've had a discussion about this where we've covered both sides.
Yeah.
We don't hate each other. No. Hopefully nobody who watched this hates us because we have different opinions, right? What made you get into this specifically? You said, I want to be a podcast studio, change my name to podcaster on my car, want to do 3 hours. What was the thing that made you want to do this?
So 10 years of stand-up comedy.
Okay.
And then September 11th happened, and traveling was such a pain in the ass. I had to take time off. I was already kind of burned out. I was never a strong comedy writer. I always say I'm a host that did stand-up.
There you go.
There is a difference. I didn't have the chops that any of our favorite comedians have.
You know Jay Davis?
I do. Yeah. I love Jay Davis.
Jay Davis doesn't know this. He will be on the show.
I love it.
Jay Davis, 100%
shout out to Jay
will be.
Davis.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to him in years.
Yeah.
I was already kind of burned out, and September 11th kind of forced me into, okay, now what? And then I just kind of fell into doing PR for 10 years. And then the economy crashed. And so then we kind of crashed with it. I was in the mobile space for 5 years and fucking hated it, just doing biz dev, because I had a lot of contacts in entertainment and stuff. So we were doing celebrity branded apps. And I was just a deal maker, whatever. And then I left that company and I was like, fuck, man, I'm what was I, 45 years old? I was like, what the fuck am I going to do?
Right.
It was the first time in my life. I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, scary.
And I was, at the time, ODing on Gary Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, I read.
Who I love.
You read the 3 books, the Crush It Economy, Jab, Right Hook. Yeah.
Yep. And I met Gary a bunch of times. He was really nice to me. We were trying to get him to invest and hang with. At one point, that's how I met him. And he didn't end up doing it because he invested in Meerkat. But that crashed and burned too, like we did. But
Meerkat had about a month.
It had about a month. Yeah, it was weird. It was pretty good. There was Hang With, and then Periscope fucking murdered us, or then Meerkat murdered us, and then Periscope wiped us all out, and then Instagram Live.
I remember having this exact discussion with Tiffany Masters about Meerkat, and then I was like, dude, Periscope just came and just
and then now Periscope, I know it still exists, but no one uses it. Yeah, it's weird. So I was going through this what am I going to do? Because I always had offers for random consulting. It's just nothing I liked. And I didn't want to do stand up necessarily, but I missed that outlet somewhere, some way, shape, or form. And between watching Joe Rogan every day, and him having people like Brendan Schaub on from The Fighter and the Kid, and him encouraging Brendan, you should, he was always
do a podcast.
Joe was always saying that.
Mike Tyson has one because I heard him saying to Mike Tyson, you should have a podcast.
Totally. And Gary Vee said, was just giving advice to people, doing his lectures and then Q&A. He said, my advice to any of you listening that's confused as to what you should do, triple down at what you're good at.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm pretty good at talking.
There you go.
And that's what started the podcast.
There you go. How long has this place been around?
This place opened March of this year.
Okay.
Right, Trav? March?
Yep. March 6th.
Yep, March 6th, right. We kicked it off with a 20, every year. We've done 2, so I can say every year, and we will do a 3rd. We do a 24-hour live Action Junkeez live. Yeah?
I'm down.
All right.
100%.
Yeah.
Can I just have random girls come on?
Fuck yeah.
Done.
All right. Yeah.
Done. Just perfect. So here's what we're going to do. Travis is going to go on IG. You're going to tell me your 10 favorite, and I'm going to get them all on.
All right, bet. Sound good? Got it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, we opened the studio in March of this year. It'll be in January. It'll be 5 years that I'm doing Action Junkeez.
Okay.
And I love it. It's fun,
Can you talk about from a financial standpoint, how does this work? You sponsors individually, downloads? How does it work?
Yeah. So my model is a little different. So I don't read any ads. I just feel like no one wants them. It's like, no one certainly watches TV commercials other than maybe the Super Bowl, right? We fast forward through that. We don't even watch TV in real time anymore, right? It's all DVR. And so podcasting, I was like, why are we going to make the same mistake of reading these ads? It's just not for me. And even Rogan, everyone does it. They all do it. But like, I fast forward through the ads for Rogan. I'm sure you do. I don't even know who's listening to those ads. Why are you spending money on those ads?
Well, some of them are good. Like I switched over to Squarespace because of them. So some of them you're right. But like, you're right. For the most part.
For the most part, yeah. It's just, I'm not comfortable. And then also, I don't want to read ads for stuff that I don't care about.
Right.
So, and it just doesn't feel right to me. Like, I don't want to be brought to you by stamps.com.
So how does that work then?
So I focus on product placement.
In the show.
In the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
I get it. So Mountain Dew, thank you.
I wish. They're not a sponsor. They're not a sponsor, but they should be. In the beginning, that's what I used to do.
Alabama moonshine right here. Rot your teeth.
In the beginning, I would talk about brands that I like.
Yeah.
And I would always be like, they're not a sponsor, but they should be. And then I would send that clip to them on Instagram. And, it's just a numbers game. You DM 100 people and 4 get back to you and 1 buys.
You got to help me with this, John.
Yeah.
You got to help me with this. Because listening to you explain this, now it makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm just now getting into this. So yeah, definitely. That's something I definitely want to learn from you, is how that works. And then when you talk to the sponsors, how does that work?
So I try to customize everything based on whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if it's like Universal Pictures and Fast and Furious is coming out, I'll try to book a guest that has 5 million, 10 million followers, whatever, and say, hey, the week of your movie coming out, I've got this guest. She's got 10 million followers. We'll talk about the movie in a very organic way. And then boom, there you go. There's the.
Are you sending it from regular email? How are you?
Regular email. So
to
the
PR
best
agents?
deals I've ever done. So, a lot of, we get taught, create a deck, make a nice fancy PowerPoint with pictures. The best high dollar amount deals I have ever done, whether that's investing in companies that I had or sponsoring events, whether it's live events at Playboy, whatever, bullet points in an email.
That's it.
Right? It goes back to no one wants long form.
Bro, it's...
Right? Tell me what time it is. Don't tell me how to make a watch. Just get to the point, dude. What's the event? How much?
So
what do I get?
So do you remember the one sheet? Oh, I don't know if you worked in nightlife here, but they would ask for one sheet. So it's description, event description, then it goes what you provide and what they provide. Is that what you're doing?
100%.
It's like a one sheet.
I tell Travis just literally a few months ago, and we're always talking about it. We need a one sheet. And he was, he's fresh out of college. He's like, I don't really know what a one sheet. What is a one sheet? I don't even know what it is.
So I'm pitching a bikini competition for one of the pools here, and I give a long form. It's about 10 pages long with photographs, and it goes through the schedule and everything for the pageant. And then there's a one sheet that I do that's all the things I provide, all the things you provide, and that's it. And that's generally what they look at.
That's
the
what
one
pulls
sheet.
the trigger. Yeah. Your events, though, the long version of it that you're putting together, the deck you're sending, it's filled with hot pictures. It is. So at least it's sexy that way. So it's okay.
Yeah. Well, it's also got run of show and like prize money, things like you have to know about. Right. So stuff like that. But I found that is helpful. And I would personally, if I was working in a nightlife group, I would just do a one sheet also.
Right.
Like that makes a lot more sense to me. So you send out a one sheet, they come back to you. You have a certain percentage. Yeah. Are you getting better?
I usually shoot really obnoxiously high.
Okay.
On the money.
This is good to know.
Yeah. And then what I'll do is here's what I'm going to deliver. I make that list long enough so that I can backpedal in case I've priced myself out.
Beautiful.
So then I can go, okay, let's do this, this, and this. For this amount, I can do this and this. And you know what? I'll even include these things that would have been here under promise, over deliver.
Very good.
Right?
That is one of the lessons in the Men of Action program. Under promise, over deliver. So have you ever read Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort?
No.
I'd highly recommend that.
And I like him.
Yeah, he's great. His book, Way of the Wolf, fantastic. No, Wolf of Wall Street's a good book.
Yeah.
Way of the Wolf.
And by the way, on my business card right now, if I showed him my business card, you got one? No?
No, it's not.
Nah, it's all right. It says The Wolf.
The Wolf?
It does.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Way of the Wolf, he goes over the straight line selling techniques, and he goes over different tonalities and stuff like that. One of my favorite books when it comes to selling. But that's awesome. Like listening to you, the way you work makes it work. The other thing is, I think there are a lot of businesses that look at Instagram and still see it as silly or a little bit less mature. And here we're doing like the McNeil-Lair report here. Like you and I are doing something a little bit longer form and more serious.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of these businesses would rather be attached to something like this that is long form and serious rather than a 15-second clip on TikTok.
Agreed. I totally agree. They like both, but there's something to be said about having an audience captured for a long amount of time, which you build a bond with, which
investment.
And then you can sell them whatever you want because right? It's like if Joe Rogan says, hey, try this, I'll try it.
No doubt.
And I'm not one of those people.
I mean, look at the microphones. These are I think the Shoops are the same ones that they have in the
probably
Joe Rogan.
Does Joe Rogan rock these?
No, he uses the different ones.
Okay.
But it's the same
But
company?
these are very popular.
Same company.
Yeah,
Sure.
same company, yeah.
I'm glad you just brought up Instagram though, because I would like to say this. I always say I'm the best case study that you can do it too. Because when I started this podcast, I think I had 2,000 followers. I only have 4,000.
I'll get you some more.
In 5 years, I've gained 2,000
man,
followers.
It's crazy, man.
Okay?
The growth spike in
It's
IG
crazy.
is gone.
But I always say, like, I brag, like, laughing in the office. Like, I declared myself, pound for pound, the best influencer in the world because I'm able to make 6 figures with having 4,000 followers. Go try it.
Yeah,
Go try it. Hard enough with a following to make 6 figures off of social media, which is what I consider, like, I don't consider myself making money off the podcast, which I am in a roundabout way, but really it's social media because my pitch is, what's the first question if you were to reach out to a sponsor tomorrow, hey, I've got this podcast.
What's my reach?
What's your reach?
Yeah.
Right? Who's listening? How many? Right? So when I started the podcast, the number's 0, right? 0 to 100 for the first episode or whatever, right? So I always say it's not about who's listening. And I tell the brand, listen, this is usually on a phone call, right? I'm going to sound crazy. It doesn't matter how many listen. All that matters is I'm going to have Russell Peters on. I'm going to have Sophie D on.
Yeah.
I'm going to have Marcus Allen on. I'm going to have these people. And then I'm going to give them a clip. And they're going to post it on their story. And they're going to go, had a great time on Action Junkeez with Jon Orlando. Swipe up to watch. And
the right people.
The right people. And
right
a million people see that. If it's Sophie D, 2 million people see that Instagram story. And what's that worth, Monster? Or what's that worth, mybookie.ag? Or whatever company it is.
That's beautiful. When I heard you explain it that way to me, that made a lot more sense. That was another reason why I wanted to come in here because I knew you'd be able to help me with that part of the business. The other thing is I wanted to be able to help you with my end of it, which is every girl I know has 200 to 1 million followers, and they want a way to have long form content. So like we're doing Coffee and Cleavage next month.
Yeah.
Both of those girls have 1.4 million followers, and they're going to come on here, and I'm excited.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
You might be the missing link for Podcast Junkies as a company overall. Yeah. Here was my pitch. I thought it would be easy. I've raised a lot of money for companies over 20 years. Yeah. My own stuff. We had a magazine at one point. We had a poker site, Bombshell Poker. Raised about $1 million in like 45 days for a poker site. And then 6 months later, George Bush signed the Patriot Act.
I remember that.
Poker went away, which sucked.
Yes. I heard Dan Fleischman tell that story.
Oh,
he had
terrible.
He had another poker site. Dan Fleischman did. Yeah.
So my pitch to investors in my investor deck, which failed, I was never able to raise any money, but now I'm glad I didn't raise any money, but maybe we can revisit all this. But here was my pitch. My pitch was I had connections to the Sophie D's, the Lacey K. Summers, Amanda Cerny, all of these people. Let's put them in a podcast network. And my pitch was this: 100 million people watch the Super Bowl, and brands spend X amount of dollars for these commercials that for the most part, nobody's watching. A Super Bowl sort of an anomaly. Right. I get it. But for the most part, right, everyone's looking down at their phone at a commercial break, right? So they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars advertising for commercials that no one's watching. Yeah. We can reach Super Bowl numbers. I've got X amount of influencers that are plugged into this network that we can reach 100 million eyeballs in every single week through, especially all the girls right? And then go do brand deals that aren't based on one podcast or a month of podcast. Let's do hey, Monster, give us $5 million in 2022 and we're going to plug you into the Podcast Junkies network, and that network has this amount of shows on it, and here's all the girls that host, and then the model was going to be pair up a girl, so the girl's the marketing arm, and then pair them up with, if it's sports, an ex-football player, an ex-basketball player, an ex-baseball player, a category enthusiast, a comedian, whatever. So you've got that yin and yang, right? So they can talk, and what's that worth to brands? Like, and now you've got a stable of content that appeals to men 18 to 34, which is that's where most of the biggest amount of advertising dollars get spent. You plug that into a network, and then give these 25 girls a piece of the network and go make a lot of noise, make a lot of money, and get acquired by Barstool, get acquired by Comcast, or get acquired by whatever for $1.5 billion, and we're all on a yacht.
Got it. Okay, now that I like.
Okay.
Let me tell you one other thing that makes this work.
Tell me.
Too many girls or guys or whoever start and then quit. It's too hard.
Dude,
and you
so right.
You make that not happen here.
I don't go away.
I don't know how else to explain it. So I've had some people from out of town come and shoot here. We've had Gav. We've had we've had Gav. We've had a couple other people. We're having Coffee and Cleavage come, and we have Jamie Villamore come. We have CJ Sparks. These people have podcasts. I'm gonna try to see if I can get Amanda or Nicole Arbor to come do hers here.
Nicole Arbor.
The consistency. Whenever people say, "Hey, I want to do a podcast," I'm like, "Well, start on your phone," because what I don't want to happen is for you to get too confused with editing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just make it happen, make it repeatable.
Yeah.
This place makes it 1080, multiple cameras, beautiful lighting, logo, and it's repeatable.
Yeah.
This was the thing that, because my one thing is not going to be uploading. I am going to do the uploading, but my one thing is not editing podcasts. My one thing is fulfillment, talking.
Yeah.
And I want to stick to my one thing. This place makes it so that if you just want your one thing to be your one thing, and then they handle everything else, Sticky Paws handles everything else.
Yeah.
And we're not in that fucking hullabaloo of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that I love about this.
I have people that drive in once a month. They knock out 4 to 6 episodes, and they go back to LA.
Exactly
go back to San Diego.
my point.
Yeah.
That's exactly my point. In LA, it's this dick measuring contest.
And this would cost you $1,500 to $2,000 an hour.
Exactly my point. Yes. So you've made it easier, less expensive, more repeatable, easier to do, which is why I think that idea that you had before, you're right. I could see people literally coming out here doing 4, going back to LA. It's just more, man, I parked right in front of the place. There's plenty of parking.
It's great, right? Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And I learned from, I know we're short on time, right, Trav? But I've learned from my mistakes that I made at the PR firm. I carried a lot of dead weight. I thought I carried a lot. At one point we had like 12 employees, and I always thought I thought of me as like the coach, like, oh, there are shortcomings, I'll make them better. You won't. It's a nice thought, but you won't. You gotta hire people and work with people that are committed to it, and that have the talent that you're not cultivating and coaching, that they come and they arrive. And like, that's what I have with Travis and George here.
Travis is so
it's true
inspiring.
Though. Travis is a rock star. He makes this whole place go
Hey
around.
guys, I actually have a camera. What?
Hey!
Oh man, just follow me too while we're at it. Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks so much.
Yeah, but I mean, Travis is like, Rogan has young Jamie and we have young Travis, you know, and it's great. And he's been really instrumental in finding the other pieces to the puzzle here, like George Carmona and Chase and everybody else over here. And we just got a great team. It's a lot of fun.
I am so excited.
Yeah,
this is my first, I guess we've gone 3 hours between the 2 podcasts of doing this. I'm so excited to keep doing this, to keep bringing you guys guests. I want to surprise. My whole thing is I want to surprise the 2 of you.
I love it.
I want to one of these days, I want to walk in and be like, hey guys, guess what? We got a guest coming. I'm not going to tell you who it is. And we're going to walk in here and it's going to be, whoever. It's going to be David Carr. Oh, sorry, we got David Carr here. Sorry, guys. Is that cool? Is that right? We have David Carr. I'm going to come in here. I'm literally going to walk in here with Paris Hilton someday and be like, hey, go ahead, let's make it happen.
Insane.
And just see the look. Just film the look on your faces.
Yeah.
Man, this is great. I appreciate it. Travis, for putting up with us for all this time. John, thank you so much. Sticky Paws. Again, I cannot express to you how simple this. Oh, look, I keep doing this. See this? I'm looking at myself. Now I'm looking at the camera.
There you go.
If you guys want to be involved with this, if you would like to come and sponsor this podcast or any of the other podcasts here at Sticky Paws, you can reach out to me at Michael Sartain on Instagram. You'll find me on Michael Sartain on Facebook, also on Twitter. Make sure when you see this on podcasts, if you do this on Apple Podcasts, you do this on Spotify, or you look at this on YouTube, that you comment. Please give me a rating. Let me know what you feel. Let me know what you want to change. Put some questions on there. I will respond to everyone. I'm very excited to start this first day of the rest of my life in this long journey here podcasting. And thank you again so much, Jon, for everything you've done to help and to be my second guest here. We got a lot more great ones to come.